Let's get it on.
UFC 19.
Hello everyone and welcome to MMA Start to Finish. I'm Julian and this is Matt.
Hello.
It is a new year, it is a new show, and we have new microphones. The first episode of our show we're doing in the year of our Lord 2020. Hopefully a world war does not break out in the first month.
Fingers crossed.
For those of you unfamiliar with us, I understand you may be angry. Where is the copyrighted footage? Where is Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz yelling at each other, exchanging the expletives? Don't you worry. We do have the footage of Tito and Ken getting into it, yelling, footage of Bruce declaring Gary's sex appeal. Got some clips for you here. No fight footage because we don't want to go to internet jail. But what we do here is we talk shit about old fights, all of them, even the painful ones.
We are back in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. We were recently here in UFC 15. That was a couple of years ago at this point, I think.
Yeah, 97.
Yeah. At the Magic Casino. And we are trying, well, not we are, but the UFC is trying very hard to look professional and not like cockfighting.
Yeah, not like, yeah.
They're going all in on like having this conference room of like explaining the rules to everyone.
They opened the show with basically a safety demonstration by Big John, telling all the fighters what the rules are, discussing stuff with them, you know, trying to look all professional.
Yeah.
Once again, we are bereft of attendance numbers and a buy rate for those of you who are curious. Also, as you may notice by our first slide this evening, or this morning, whenever you happen to be watching this, no tail of the tape for this event.
They're really cutting back on the budget. We don't even have a fight clock.
No. It's like we're back in 94 all of a sudden. The production value's been slashed.
I know you got a cut budget, but a clock ain't that
of
hard.
All the geez, maybe cut the fucking raffle you had in the middle of the show. Maybe use some of that money to get a clock and, you know, a tail of the tape. That would be nice.
Oh my god. Like, occasionally we'll hear of like how long the fight's been going on from commentary.
Yeah, I guess Mike Goldberg has a clock. It'd be cool if he shared with the class.
Yeah. Or at least more often than just weird facts of the stadium.
Yes. Now we're starting off here with the main event of the evening. Guy Mezger taking on Tito Ortiz in a middleweight fight. Again, middleweight is today's light heavyweight. They had to weigh in under 200 pounds, so the upper limit was 199. They had actually fought before. It was that weird fight where Tito was kind of beating the brakes off of him, and Big John pulled him off to check a cut, but didn't restart them on the ground because that's not how the rules worked back then. And then Guy got a choke, so Tito looking for revenge. Also looking to keep taking out Ken Shamrock's friends.
Guy also took this fight on late notice. He only had like a week to prepare or something like that.
I didn't
2
quite
weeks.
catch how long they said that he had, but they did say Tito was supposed to fight Vitor originally, and Vitor had to pull out for whatever reason. So we could have had that sweet Tito-Vitor matchup. That would have been fun.
Two large boys. Not the largest we'll see tonight, but two large boys.
So with this fight, you kind of got what you expected with two wrestlers. Just a lot of takedown attempts. The beginning of this fight, it felt like Tito Ortiz was playing one of the UFC video games, and he was just spamming takedown over and over again.
Oh yeah. There's one scene where he was just holding on to Guy's leg, and he would take Guy down, Guy would get back up and
Almost
hold on to that same leg, and it just looked like Guy was like freaking the fuck out.
There was a moment
going up and down, and he can't decide which way he's going to try and brace himself to stay up.
Eventually, Tito would get him to the ground and land some of the better damage of the fight with some ground and pound.
There were some key lock attempts on Tito, but he just kind of muscled out of it a little bit, but also Guy gave up on them. It seemed like they weren't going through.
Yeah, Guy didn't have super great position. I think he was trying to do it from Tito in his half guard, and commentary they were mentioning how you need to be in full guard really to have leverage for that kind of lock. It seemed like he was really just trying to use it to escape getting punched in the face, which I understand, but it looked a lot more threatening than it probably actually was. So outside of the key lock attempt, the fight was uneventful. Not boring, but kind of uneventful. There was just this grappling exchange we discussed, and then Tito would stay on Guy even after that armbar. They never really got back to their feet where there was like a striking exchange. They kind of just stayed in clinch range for basically the entire fight, and Tito eventually just beat him up from Turtle, and Big John had to step in.
Yeah.
What did you think of the stoppage? Because it seemed like Guy's father, Ken, was very upset with the stoppage. He is his coach, so he's biased. But what did you think?
I think it was good stoppage. I think there were some questionable hits in there from Tito. A lot of those hits were just straight the back of the head. There was even an elbow to Guy's neck.
Yeah,
the back of his neck.
I was looking at that too, and I'm trying to recall offhand if those strikes were illegal yet.
I think they mentioned something about hitting someone in the back of the head while on the ground.
You'd think, though, that if it was illegal, that Guy would have protested about that a little more?
I feel like they would have relied on Big John for that, and I think the rules are evolving and changing too much for Big John.
It's certainly a gray area. Like, the fact that we don't know, and we've watched all of these, kind of says something.
Now, it wasn't... Tito was, like, donkey punching.
Yeah, let's show you.
Guy.
We have a clip of him elbowing him here.
Yeah.
Or a slide shot.
Yeah.
A slide shot. A screenshot, excuse me.
That's a meaty elbow.
Yeah.
A lot of them were to, like, the back corner of his head. But some of them did end up hitting the back of his head. I feel like if you had this, for example, today in New York, they would have gotten mad at him for that.
Yeah, but New York's on some wild shit. We don't talk about them.
All right. But, like, there are a lot of fights in New York.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, back then,
Nowadays.
this slid. In Vegas, a few of those could slide. As many as he did, I feel like there would have been a problem today. But that's just how they did it back then.
I don't know how much like the enforcement of the elbows is going to vary state to state, but I do definitely agree with the point that the rules are amorphous as fuck back then. So Big John's kind of just doing the best he can.
Yeah. They're evolving too much. Well, not too much. They're evolving for the better. And they're evolving at a pace where people are still trying to keep their head on.
People are still a little confused.
Yeah.
Regardless of how clean or unclean the stoppage may have been, our boy Tito, a little braggadocious.
A little bit.
Right there.
Tito Ortiz
Doesn't matter.
has defeated Guy Mezger, and he's firing the young guns again. But not respectfully into the corner of the Lion's Den.
Tito and Ken got into it a little bit.
Ken wasn't very happy about the disrespect Tito was shooting his way.
Like literally.
Yeah.
And then the double birds he sent him afterward.
Yeah. Tito's just all smiles. Ken's very serious in his uniform.
His little
there.
beret.
Yeah. All of the Lion's Den had this uniform on, by the way.
They looked like a militia, an MMA militia, if you will.
Like African warlords or something.
Also, no way to properly include it here in this this picture, but after this tense exchange, Principal Big John stepped in, scooped up Tito like a little boy, and just sent him in the other direction.
Yeah, it was like when you tell your dog you can't go that way. You just pick him up, turn around, and
Nope.
the dog just keeps going in whatever direction you point him.
If it wasn't his fight with Jerry Bolander, this fight definitely kicked off Tito Ortiz's rivalry with the Lion's Den and Ken Shamrock. This is one of the more heated pro wrestling style rivalries we got in early MMA. We're just at the precipice now, but this evolves, I promise.
I don't think it was a robbery.
Rivalry, excuse
Rivalry,
me.
yeah. I'm excited to see this continue with Tito taking on whoever from this den comes after him.
Tito has to beat all the Pokemon gyms before he can go to the Elite Four and fight Ken and Frank.
Fighting out of Trinidad, Tobago, he's back. He's 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing in at 243 pounds of raw steel and sex appeal. Please welcome Gary Big Daddy Goodridge.
In our co-main event, we have another fight where I'm pretty sure there's an injury replacement. We have Big Daddy Gary Goodridge taking on Andre Roberts, Do you have who Andre Roberts is filling in for?
He is filling in for Tank Abbott because he got the flu.
He got the flu.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. But this is a very fitting fill-in.
You know, I suppose so.
It's an extra 40 pounds on it, but they're very much the same kind of character.
That is a big man.
Don't have a game plan. To have a game plan in this sport is like crazy.
What the fuck are you thinking?
Dude, what? You're going to get into a cage and fight other grown men, and you're like, I'll figure it out. Who needs a game plan?
You think, like...
He's just spontaneous, dude. Just lives life on the fly.
There's other people who have gone by that kind of thinking in this sport, who have said so on record. That, like, I don't plan ahead, I just go with what my gut is. And they've all failed.
Yeah.
Except,
he's not the first person to not prepare.
Except Tank, who's at like a 40-60 win-lose
He's got like
ratio.
He's got like a 500 record.
Yeah. It's not going to work out, bro.
Yeah, he quit in... How long was this fight?
Before we check, I'm going to say 30 seconds.
My guess is 37 seconds. 42 seconds.
All right, you're pretty close.
We're both pretty close. Yeah, dude quit after getting punched in the face like twice.
Yeah, and he didn't even get knocked out. He turned around and started tapping his thigh.
Like no mas.
Yeah.
And despite the weird finish, Gary still very animated in victory, flexing and screaming and such.
As he is wont to do. That extra 120 pounds over Big Daddy did not seem to do much other than help him shield his face.
Yeah, there's certainly an experience gap between the two.
I wonder if he got the flu too, and that's why he gave up. Big Daddy flu shots coming his way.
You better get your vaccine, son.
Yeah. Do you think Tank's an anti-vaxxer?
I hope not. Jesus Christ.
Bruce Buffer with the drawing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are Octagon side with our beautiful UFC. Congratulations, if you're watching, Mr. Travis Mulroy from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Travis Mulroy, you will be flown out with a guest to the next UFC for 2 Octagon side tickets.
UFC 19 also featured the main card debut of Chuck Liddell. The announcers might not have known that's how his last name is pronounced, but we do. Taking on Jeremy Horn. Chuck had fought in the UFC before, UFC 17, but it was a prelim fight and not on the broadcast that they put on Fight Pass, so we haven't talked about him before. This is our first time seeing the Iceman himself in action. Now, not to jump too far ahead, because I know it wasn't exactly the most impressive performance, but outside of the way things ended, what did you think of your first time seeing Chuck fight, Matt?
I think he put up a good fight. He seemed to get stuck a lot.
Okay.
He got stuck in a lot of, like, leg locks and got stuck in a choke at one point.
He seemed kind of unfamiliar with a lot of the grappling department.
Yeah. He gets stuck in things too much, so he needs to have more preventative measures.
Yeah, and that is something they kind of mentioned on commentary, too, that he's still learning.
I mean, he got out of almost all of them except the one that did him.
They kind of shut the lights off.
Yeah. Otherwise, he got out of most of it. It was just... Eventually, one of them's going to hold.
Chuck would become kind of famous for his really good takedown defense. He doesn't have that at this point, but eventually Chuck would be able to use his grappling to keep the fight standing. And that's kind of what let him do his thing and be, big scary motherfucker.
At one point, he got...
Instead of big strangled motherfucker.
Yeah. At one point, they got stuck on the ground for a while and actually got stood up because Chuck just wasn't doing too much and Horn was too comfy on top.
Yeah, he was in Chuck's half guard and wasn't really doing a ton from there. Earlier, there was a leg lock attempt by Jeremy that was unfruitful, but after that, they kind of just stalled before they got stood up again. What's interesting is that it wasn't just like Chuck Liddell was out there fighting Damian Maia, getting taken down immediately, and all Jeremy was spamming for was chokes and like submissions. There was some strikes early from him too. He had that head kick that Chuck almost ducked into. That was pretty nice.
That echoed through the whole, I guess, arena.
Arena's a strong word, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah. Establishment.
Casino.
So, the horn, not Jeremy Horn, but the horn is blasted. And what happens?
Big John steps in because the round's over, goes to pull young Jeremy off of Chuck here, and Chuck's taking a nap.
Yeah.
So Big John here, it's early again. I don't want to get on too much, but did not recognize that Jeremy had Chuck in a choke here. And again, to be fair, this is not a typical choke. I mean, it is like a head and arm choke, but it's at such a weird angle, it's hard to recognize as a head and arm choke. So when Big John goes to separate them, Chuck is just this like limp ass corpse, and what would have been the round or the end, of regulation is now the end of the fight because Big John waves it off upon realizing that Chuck is literally asleep.
Yeah. He actually lifted up Chuck's head, and Chuck was non-responsive.
Yeah, he just rolled him over.
Yeah. So, we're done here.
It's funny because the commentators were about to say how Chuck withstanded the choke for just long enough to get into overtime, and then Mike Goldberg's like, nope, it's over.
No. It's like, yeah.
Sorry, bud. Better luck next time.
So Chuck got stuck.
Main card debut of the Iceman does not go exactly as planned, but obviously we'll see him again. More successfully, too, might I add. Up next, we're going to talk about what felt like the main event of the night because it had the most, title ramifications, but was not the main event of the night. Maurice Smith coming back from a brief hiatus to take on Kevin Randleman.
This beast of a man.
This very large man with eyes tattooed on his triceps that give children nightmares.
He's like Tito, but bigger and blacker.
Same haircut, too.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
You're also wrestlers.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities here besides the obvious difference. As a matter of fact, my first note here is Kevin is fucking huge. And Kevin comes from the school of fucking huge dudes in Mark Coleman being his coach.
I just... I forgot Mark was his coach. Mine's just, holy shit, Kevin, the hype man.
Yeah, apparently Mark Coleman was his coach here in MMA and previously was his coach during his collegiate wrestling career.
He looks like he could be his dad with just their body types.
Yeah, so swole brothers stay together.
Yeah. Maybe it's them in that meme where it's like the two people shaking hands. Maybe that's them.
It's do you know who that actually is?
No. That's
Arnold Schwarzenegger and one of the secondary or tertiary characters from Predator. When they meet each other, they clap hands together. But yes, this could indeed be the Walmart version of Arnold and Friends.
The Walmart version. I like it.
There's a lot of hype behind this fight. The winner of this fight would advance to UFC 20 to take on Boss, who we should add is on commentary for this fight.
Yeah.
And the winner of that fight at UFC 20 will be the UFC heavyweight champion. Again, for those of you unaware, because the heavyweight champion Randy Couture said see ya and went to Japan because UFC not cutting big enough checks to keep him stateside. Tell me what you thought of the fight, man.
They took their sweet time to actually get into the fight.
To do shit.
Yeah, it was about 4 minutes in.
This was one of the rare times of the night, I think, where Mark Goldberg actually told us what the time was because he has the secret keys there.
Secrets.
Oh, by the way, Mike Goldberg, not Mark. Sorry. Not Mark Coleman and Mike Goldberg's son.
It's a fusion.
It's like the Dragon Ball Z with the ear. Anyway, go on.
Kevin took down Maurice Smith, but Maurice got a good kick in there before the takedown. And from there, that training really kicked in, and Kevin was just on top of Maurice for almost this entire fight.
It very quickly became clobbering time for Kevin. Just starting to get off with some punches and elbows from the top. Nothing to close the fight, nothing that powerful, but enough to score him the points, obviously.
Yeah. Kevin had enough oomph power to just keep Maurice where he wanted him or take him anywhere to the ring where he wanted him to be.
There was certainly a size disparity
Well,
between the two gentlemen.
You can see it right there.
Yeah, I think Maurice is actually technically taller, but the density of Kevin
One's a
cannot be
rectangle,
matched.
one's a trapezoid.
I will also say that in the modern era, just given his body type, I think Maurice would probably fight at like 205 in the modern era, not at heavyweight. He seems a little slender to be fighting at heavyweight.
Oh, yeah.
So despite his dominance on the ground, Big John does eventually stand them up. How do you feel about these stand-ups? Because I get that not much is going on, but there's also the argument that, like, he kind of has them where he wants them.
Right now, I think they're all about entertainment value.
Absolutely.
They need the money. So the professionalism point of it, they're trying to keep it so that people aren't getting totally murdered, but they want the fight to be entertaining.
They're trying to find some middle ground between sports and entertainment.
Yeah, which is what they're trying to do today. But today it's more educated as far as what is professional and...
Well, it's just a lot more developed in, like, every facet.
Yeah, they're just trying to, like, this isn't fun. Stand up, fight.
The people are mad. Rise. Fight.
Maurice did get a key lock in on Kevin, but Kevin's too swole.
Yeah, it didn't work.
He chose not to be key locked.
His arms are too large for that shit.
Yeah.
Key lock or Kimura, whatever direction you're going, I have been told is a power move. You got to be a strong boy to do that, and you got to just, like, basically overpower whoever you're doing it on. So I don't know if that's the move you want to be applying to Kevin.
This man. And then it went into overtime.
It went into overtime.
And Kevin did something that made Mark very unhappy.
Yeah, Mark was fucking pissed.
He was already screaming throughout this whole fight.
Very animated and vocal coach, Mark Coleman.
If anything was to take out his voice for the next few days, it was this scream he let out of, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, when Kevin let Maurice up because he was kind of feeling himself and he wanted to, I guess, get some punches into at the very end there.
Yeah.
Mark almost had a stroke. Matter of fact, Mark got so animated that he attempted to vault here into the cage.
I mean, he didn't go into the cage.
He didn't actually attempt to get into the cage.
He was all about being observing everything that he could.
Very active observer.
He didn't want the fence in the way. He needed every detail.
Yeah, this shit would not fly in 2019. They'd be like, hey,
not.
get off the cage right now.
Yeah.
So overtime expires. Kevin clearly has dominated the entire fight and wins a unanimous decision and advances to the heavyweight title fight with Bas Rutten at UFC 20.
Boss has got some large muscle to contend with.
Yeah, they were talking to both of them, Bas via the commentary table, and they were also doing an interview with Kevin after the fight. And they didn't have them talking to each other, but they had them talking about each other through, like, proxies, and it was very weird.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of awkward, and you could tell Bas was like, oh my god, I gotta fight this huge fucking man.
Yeah. His eyes were pretty wide.
He's like, ah, jeez.
You gotta love it. You just gotta love it. Kevin Randleman came in here. He was a confident warrior.
And he's giving the Tarzan scream.
So our second fight of the night was Evan Tanner versus Valery Ignatov, depending on who you ask. Val is probably just short for Valerie. Val seems very happy-go-lucky.
Which is strange, considering they told us on commentary that he's a part of Frank Shamrock's team. Happy-go-lucky doesn't seem like the vibe for those gentlemen.
No.
But maybe he's the exception to the rule.
It made me very concerned for his ability. Just because, like, a lot of the fighters we have right now are very much tough guy types.
You were worried Val would not possess the mean streak necessary to survive the cage.
Yeah.
And you're kind of right.
Yeah.
Evan did sort of beat the brakes off of him in every way imaginable.
It was a little more even at first, but as time went on, it just got worse and worse.
I mean, the only real offense Val put up, at least as far as I remember, was that leg lock attempt. And after that leg lock attempt, or rather I should say, that leg lock attempt is what led to his demise.
Yeah.
Because Evan would get the mount after that, and after getting the mount, he would elbow his face into sand. It was just a bad night all around for Ken's team. Did anybody on Ken's team win tonight?
I don't think so.
Well, actually, in the one fight we haven't gotten to, we have a Lions Den victory. But
yeah.
We'll get to that soon.
There was one armbar attempt, but it failed.
A lot of armbar attempts failing tonight. A lot of people using them irresponsibly.
Irresponsible armbars?
Yeah, because you lose position. I mean, sometimes like the key lock attempts we saw earlier were to just like stop them from hitting them so they could like at least get like a reprieve from that. But when you're not doing it for that, you can, like lose position sometimes.
I feel like after that leg lock attempt that they were like doing on each other.
Yeah, it was like dueling leg lock attempts.
As
a lot of leg lock attempts wind up being.
Evan was kind of to the side. It wasn't really a side mount, but I think Evan was pretty much done at that point because he wasn't even defending himself really. Evan was just able to swing his leg over and get mount on Valerie.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of resistance there in achieving mount for Evan.
Yeah, it was too easy. Not like rigged easy, but like he's outclassed. Valerie's outclassed.
Different levels of skill here.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes and 57 seconds action, Evan Tanner would become victorious, defeating Val. To this point, undefeated in the UFC. Last time we saw him, he was beating up Daryl, much to the dismay of his coach. This time, taking it to Valerie. Bright future ahead for Evan.
Yeah. He was going to town on Val's face, too.
Yeah, with those elbows.
Yeah.
Merciful stoppage by Big John. Could have gotten a lot worse if you had a Steve Mazzagatti in there.
Evan even said in the post-fight interview that he had an easier time this time around
than he did with Daryl.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Big John McCarthy stops this bout at 2 minutes and 58 seconds for the winner, Evan Tanner.
And now, for the first fight of the night and the last fight of the night for our purposes, Pete Williams taking on Jason Gotze in one of only a handful of heavyweight fights we had on the card tonight. Middleweight shining here on UFC 19.
It's almost like we need more classes between the two of them, huh?
It's almost like there should be more than literally 2 weight classes. So not the shortest fight of the night. That distinction goes to Gary, and that dishonor goes to Andre. But second quickest fight of the night here in under 2 minutes. Break down what happened for us here, Matt.
They squabbled a bit on the ground.
A little bit of clinching.
And then Pete got a knee bar, and that was
the show.
That was all of it.
Yeah, once again, kind of like dueling leg lock attempts here. But after a little bit of repositioning, was able to secure a knee bar here in this spiderweb of humanity to win the fight.
Not to like downplay of what they were doing. There was some back and forth, but there wasn't anything truly meaningful until that knee bar, and then that was what ended it.
Yeah, there was like a brief feeling out process, and then the fight was over.
Yeah. It only took how long?
1 minute and 54 seconds.
Yeah, so that's feeling out time, and then something sunk real quick.
Before he became a champion in the WWF, Ken Shamrock rocked the mixed martial arts world in the UFC.
When I was in the Octagon, those were the toughest days of the UFC.
See interviews, never before seen footage, and the legendary battles that made him the world's most dangerous man.
See my classic battles with Horace Gracie, Chemo, and Dan the Beast Severn.
Ultimate Ken Shamrock, Friday, April 2nd.
Don't miss it on pay-per-view.
And that is UFC 19. Matt, what are your overall thoughts on the fights this evening?
We saw the first Tap Out logo, so we have maybe a sponsor.
We do have some more sponsors breaking into the MMA game despite its illegality. So
It's also
hats off to Tap Out.
getting some interesting characters in. I know not too many people were new this time around.
Yeah, and unfortunately, those who were did not have Wikipedia pages for us to dive into.
Yeah, there
Or
was.
fortunately, if you've listened to some of our other shows, maybe we don't want them to have Wikipedia pages.
Yeah.
Maybe that means some horrible things sometimes.
There was a prelims fight we didn't get to see that left a large blood stain on the ground.
Yeah, apparently that was not a quick bleed out either, because according to Wikipedia, that was a 10-minute long fight.
Yeah,
where there was a doctor stoppage.
Yeah.
And you can see why.
I don't know if we'll be able to find that. So, a nice mystery.
That's your homework. Go watch the weird 10-minute early prelim fight for UFC 19.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Overall,
And then tell us about it.
I thought it was pretty good. It was entertaining. I really like not Kevin Smith, Kevin Randleman. Yeah.
Fusing Kevin and Maurice there a little bit.
Yeah. There. It's not the comic book guy.
Not the Jay and Silent Bob guy.
Yeah. Kevin, I like him. He's interesting. I'm kind of attached to him. He gives me not the same feelings as Don, but because I really like Don.
Don Fry.
Don Fry. But he's entertaining. I like him.
New character you enjoy.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed UFC 19. Not the greatest fights in the world, but some pretty notable stuff, historically speaking. We saw Chuck Liddell for the first time, despite him getting choked out. We had this matchup between Maurice and Kevin, which is important for the title picture, despite it not being the best fight I've ever seen. And we have sort of the kickoff of the Lions Den Tito Ortiz beef with the Stern Point by Ken and the Double Birds by Tito.
Only thing that I thought was kind of bad was just production value.
Yeah.
We're now missing things that we had before.
It's like when there's a new version of a video game and they remove features.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It was already there.
Yeah.
Why'd you need to take it away?
I would love to see the clock back. That was very helpful, especially for our purposes.
I will also say, for their purposes, it does make it seem more professional to have a clock on the screen.
Yeah.
It does make it feel like more of a sport when there's like, at all times there's like time here. It's not just like till the death.
Yeah.
Because I will say, when there's no clock, there is kind of the implication that like, yeah, they just keep going.
Imagine if they didn't have a clock on like basketball.
They just played basketball until somebody quit.
Yeah. Well, like someone has a clock, but no one in the audience knows.
Not to get on too much of a sidebar, but in my spare time, I like to watch like old 80s NBA games because I'm a nerd. And they didn't have the score and the clock on the screen. What they would do was, when somebody scored, they would flash the score for like 2 seconds and then it would go away. And the clock was never on the screen. You just had to listen for commentary for when it came around. They would show you the clock when there was like 2 minutes or a minute left. But yeah, this dumb shit we're talking about was par for the course on old 80s sports shit. So we've come a long way production-wise.
Yes, we have.
A long way. Up next on MMA Start to Finish, we return to the land of the rising sun. Pride 5. It's going to be a lot of fun to return to Japan for what I'm sure will be some weird shit.
I just hope it isn't a 5-hour event.
Yeah, hopefully they've also learned some things on the production side.
Yeah. Let us know what you think of the audio quality.
Yeah, we do have our new microphones. For those of you that have listened through, we thank you. And yeah, tell us how we sound as compared to last year.
Yeah.
So until Pride 5, we will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening. Please hit the like button, leave us a comment telling us what you thought of the fights, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. We love you. Only other note I've got is Tito says the Lion's Den is kitty cats in a litter box.
I wish there's some way to include that.
Kevin Smith choked down Maurice, but Maurice got a good kick in there.
Matt.
What?
You just said Kevin Smith, who's the dude from... Who's the dude? You know who Kevin Smith is?
I'm fusing everyone.
Kevin Smith's a person, though. He's from, what's it fucking called? God damn it, Bill and Ted's... No, not Bill and Ted. The other one that's like that. God damn it, whatever.
Anyway.
You'll know him if I pull him up.
It sounds familiar.
That's Kevin Smith. You know who that is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. God. The guy from the comic book show.
Yeah, from let's go to his Wikipedia.
Took down Murray.
Jane Silent Bob.
Yeah.